Is it still possible for small businesses to even compete with these large businesses moving forward? How can small businesses even compete?
I think they need to very well define what their audience is. You don't need to reach out to everyone to be successful. The second thing they need to do is put their human brand into the equation. Third one is to make sure that you create like 100 small steps forward that you can take, and that every day you think about. It's like with the videos, right? It's like, what can I do different today? Where can I put a little bit more energy in to make a difference to clients?
Customer experience, digital media expert, international best-selling author, over 150,000 books sold. That's pretty spectacular. Keynote speaker, over 1,000 events, 40 countries. Steven van Belleghem, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Steven, my pleasure. You've done a lot of amazing things in building up multiple businesses. Really excited to get into it. But before we get into all the nuts and bolts, I want to talk about a YouTube video that you just produced. Steven, crushing it on YouTube, over 20,000 subscribers. Really, I think the framework of what we should all be doing on YouTube. But I want to talk about something you pointed out in one of your newest videos, and that is that every company is an entertainment company. Steven, why is every company an entertainment company? Explain.
Well, we have the habit of focusing on the transactional part of a customer relation. We try to make sure that if we buy something and we push a button that it works. And of course, we need to do that. But that doesn't make a difference anymore. And I think today, the world is looking for more creative, more entertaining solutions. That doesn't mean that you have to bring a band in your store or something like this. Imagine that you have a bakery, doesn't mean that you have to be singing and dancing in the store. But if you have a bakery, you can bring entertainment with your content. You can bring recipes to people in a fun and joyful way so that it helps them in their journey. But you can do that in a boring way, and you can do that in an entertaining way. And I think it's really relevant for business owners to think about, how can we make our company more entertaining? How can we make it more fun? Even B2B. I mean, there are probably a lot of your listeners who are in B2B marketing. In my opinion, there are too many B2B people who believe that B2B stands for boring to boring. Yeah. You do not have to be boring because you're working with a business audience. And figuring out a way how to bring that in a more entertaining, creative way, your message, your products, your service to your audience, that will create a more emotional relationship, and it will go beyond just the transactional kind of business that we typically tend to focus on.
I love this whole boring to boring idea. It resonates with me a lot because I'm getting tons of messages on LinkedIn. It's normally wall of text plus link, let's talk, let's schedule something. So if you can entertain or even educate me at the same time, that's brilliant. So when you're talking about every company, every business being an entertainment company, you're not necessarily talking about setting up a disco ball in your place of business. You're talking about creating engaging experiences online. Am I correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And not just online. You can also do fun things offline. But the opportunity online is just larger. I mean, you have this wonderful podcast. You're educating and entertaining at the same time, as you mentioned. Instagram is a fantastic channel to share your expertise in a fun way. And even if you have something serious to talk about, you need to bring it in a way that it's easy to digest. You need to bring it in a way that people will remember it. Like I'm a Disney fan, and when I'm trying to share a new story or a new theory, my first reflection is always, is there a Disney movie or character that I could use as a metaphor? And my favorite one is from the movie Inside Out. I don't know if you've seen the movie Inside Out. It tells us the story about a teenage girl that moves to a new city. She's moving to San Francisco. And we see the emotions in her mind. We see what's happening in her mind. And when you see that film, you know that the person who programmed us made a huge mistake. Because we have 5 emotions, and 4 of them are really boring. We only have one. They're not boring, they're negative. That's a better word. We only have one positive emotion, and that's joy. And then we have sadness, we have anger, we have fear, and we have disgust. And, it's so tempting for us humans to focus on the 4 negative emotions. And when you see that film, you understand how powerful those 4 emotions are. And I think as a business owner, we need to be self-aware enough to know that sometimes we get dragged into those negative emotions, and then we tend to take the wrong decisions. And we also need to be aware of the fact that other humans don't like to see negative emotions from other humans. We like to see human kindness. We like joyful things. So when you communicate online, don't be the complainer. Don't be the person who is focusing on the negative things all the time. Be the person that brings value in a positive, in a joyful way, and your audience will be thankful for that, and they will stick more to everything that you say, and they will remember it more. So I think that entertaining mindset, that mindset of letting joy speak out more in your organization will be, a big leverage on your digital success.
So I like this idea a lot, especially in the realm of social media, where a lot of times the negative, if it bleeds, it leads type of mentality is rolled out. But one of the things as a marketer, and as I work with marketers, is we're always trying to highlight the problem that someone has, right? This is the problem that you have. You need to solve this problem. If you don't solve this problem, your life is going to be in shambles. But typically, we're going to be trying to trigger that fear emotion, right? That fear of missing out, that fear of I don't have the right solution. How do you marry the idea of making that person happy and feel joyful while at the same time reminding them you've got this huge problem that you need to solve and I have the solution? How do we leverage the two?
Yeah, I tend to go all in on the benefits and go all in on the excitement that you can create. I have this crazy theory that I talked about last week with one of my clients. What if the most important KPI of your products would be the level of excitement that you can generate among your audience? And what if you use that instead of revenue growth? What if you use that instead of profit that you make? What if we work with level of excitement? There was this newspaper here in Belgium. I'm from Belgium in Europe, right? And this newspaper wanted to do something to, excite their audience and bring something positive because of the dark times of COVID and everything. They wanted to do something positive when we were a year in the pandemic. And the first idea was, let's create a virtual concert as a newspaper with some Belgian artists, and we're going to help out those artists. People will enjoy it. Good example and good idea. But then they said, what if we want to create real excitement? And then it became something else. Then they said, why don't we create a concert that lasts for 24 hours? And the band is playing 24 hours without a break. We don't want to have a second without music in those 24 hours. With the same band, they play over and over again. And what if we don't invite 6 Belgian artists, but why don't we invite all Belgian artists? Why don't we invite 150 of them, and they can each play 1 or 2 songs in those 24 hours? And what if we don't just do that in a Zoom kind of setting, but what if we organize this in the biggest concert hall that we have in the country? And that's exactly what they did. 24 hours, more than 150 artists in the largest concert arena with a beautiful light show, and they streamed that for free on their app 24 hours long. We have a country that only holds like 10 million people, but about 1 million people were watching that. And they created a level of excitement that was all over social media. They created a level of excitement that was unseen. And they succeeded in that because excitement was their KPI. And if you want to create excitement, then you start to reverse engineer your ideas. And you think, okay, how can we boost excitement even more? What can we do even more? And you add on and add on and add on within your own boundaries of what's possible. But that's a different kind of marketing than just saying, okay, you've got a problem, we have a solution. That doesn't create excitement, that creates a solution. That's more rational. If you start with excitement as KPI, I think you will end up at a different result than when you're more careful and when you use the more traditional approach.
So this is an interesting concept, and I love talking to customer experience experts because we really try to we really focus on the end client, the end consumer's well-being, right? But this idea of joy or excitement being your KPI, your key performance indicator, is a tricky one, right? Because it's hard to quantify how much happiness or how much joy or how much excitement someone's experiencing, whereas if someone gets a returns an item, okay, the exact dollar value of that. How can we actually measure something intangible like joy. What's a way that we can actually measure and get a feel for how our consumer is enjoying a product?
Well, the most easy way to measure that is the noise that you create on social media and the emotion that is linked to that noise. Because that's where people share their excitement, and that's of course something that we have available right now, and there are many tools out there that can help you track social media conversations about your brand or about your event or about your product, and that will give you a good indication. If many brands have like a flat flow of online conversations, and if you do something spectacular or if you do something new, you can see a peak in conversations. Yeah. And the height of the peak is very often a good indicator of level of excitement. It can also be negative excitement. They can also think it's the worst thing ever, but then you know. But that's how you can measure it. And I'm not against measuring, let's say, hard facts. I think you need to measure your results and your financial ROI as well. But how do you manage projects? How do you manage product launches? How are you going to prepare for it? There, I really like to start with that excitement. And then, of course, you're also going to see that in your financial results. At the end of the day, the financial results are a consequence of the level of excitement that you generate.
So I like this. This actually makes a lot of sense to me. You can measure the results of your excitement by going to the social media platforms where you're promoting these types of events, and you can actually see, am I getting an uptick in retweets or posts, likes, comments, shares, etc. That's a good way, I think, of putting a number, because again, as a marketer, I'm always looking to, you got to have numbers. Yeah. You know, that's if right. I go to a client and say,
of course,
you know, so that's an interesting way of measuring that. And I like that, because at the end of the day, you know, if you can excite someone, that's a really good long-term strategy. They're going to go home, they're going to tell their mom, their dad, their dog, their cat, all of that good stuff. I want to go a level deeper on this idea that every company is an entertainment company, because you've embraced that full steam, Steven. You've got your YouTube channel, which you're crushing it, producing multiple videos a month, lots of great content there. I want to ask you, Steven, going back about 10 years ago, what made you decide to get started in YouTube? Because you're what I would consider an early adopter. What made you start?
Well, I had so much ideas and content, and I wrote my first business book in 2009, came out in 2010, and I was really excited. I loved it. I still like writing books. It gives you, you know, it's more in-depth, but it's also very static. And I write a book every 2 or 3 years, and then I want to come up with something completely new. But in between, there's so many interesting things that are happening. And today we have this platform, and we have all these platforms, and they're just out there, and you can almost use them for free as a business owner. And I like to make videos. I like to speak to audiences, and it's something that I can put my energy in. And it's a way of sharing my thoughts. And it's also a platform where I get early feedback from users. If I say something that doesn't make sense at all, people will tell me, say like, I like your stuff, but this is ridiculous. You need to stop talking about this because this is not good. So it's like almost beta testing of things. It's also a business channel for me, because like the biggest part of my business is giving keynote presentations. And typically you get new assignments thanks to word of mouth. And then you go from one assignment to another. But YouTube has been an accelerator for me. There's so many people who've never seen me in real life who discovered my YouTube videos through search and by recommendations. And then they think, oh, I like this stuff. And then they reach out to me personally. And I had so many interesting opportunities to work for wonderful companies that discovered me on YouTube. And that's been really important. But to be honest, I had many doubts if I wanted to continue with it, because I remember my first video was 2009 or something, but I had a very infrequent uploading schedule. And then 2014, I said, okay, I need to take this more seriously, and I'm going to work harder than ever on it. And then I started to post videos every week, multiple times a week, and every time I had the feeling, this is my best video ever. This is the message that the world is waiting for, right? And then I had like 200 views. Probably my mom 50 times and my wife 20 times, and then some people that had nothing else to do. So I was so disappointed with the results. And it didn't grow for like a year. I always had like between 200 and let's say 700-800 views. But then one day someone told me, hey, how many people actually have an audience of 200 to 800 people a week? How many people actually can address 200 to 800 people every week. That's a big audience. And I never thought of it like this. And I thought, okay, this is my community. And if it's 800 people that really get value from what I'm doing, I'm going to keep on doing it. But now we're 7 years later, and now, yeah, I'm very thankful that there's so many more people watching the videos. And I think that's the problem with YouTube and social media in general, that so many people want to start, and they have high expectations, and then in the beginning you put all your energy in it, and you don't get any result in the short run.
Yeah.
And then you get disappointed, you don't give it your best anymore, and then, you know, it goes down, and it has no impact whatsoever. And it's, in my opinion, it's like going to the gym. When you go to the gym for 4 weeks and you work really hard, nothing happens. If you go another 4 weeks, still nothing happens. It's after months and months of working out that you're starting to see small changes, and it's after years that you actually see a significant impact. And it's the same with putting stuff on social media. The result comes later on, and it's exponential. So in the beginning, you're over-investing. After a while, the return becomes significantly higher than what you hoped for. But you need to get to that point where you feel that flip in results. And most people don't get there because they give up too early.
Yeah, I mean, when I'm bringing on new clients, this is one of the more challenging conversations we have to have, because, you know, if you want to start, let's say, putting your podcast on YouTube, putting your videos on YouTube, to your point, most people, it's a long game, years of grinding out these videos. So you got to get set up where I'm not going to get too high, I'm not going to get too low, I'm just going to keep pumping out content. And I love that idea, Stephen, about this is my best video yet. You know, I think if you subscribe to that mindset of each video, each piece of content is going to be a little bit better than my last piece of content, there's no doubt in my mind you can really blow it out and be successful. Except running into my next question here, Stephen, which I think is really important. Over the past year, we've seen a massive drop in the abilities of small businesses to compete, and we've seen large businesses get bigger and bigger and bigger and balloon out of proportion. Is it still possible for small businesses to even compete with these large businesses moving forward? There's too much technology, there's too much capital, there's too much government going on. How can small businesses even compete?
Oh, they can definitely compete. I think there are a number of things they need to do. I think they need to very well define what their audience is. You don't need to reach out to everyone to be successful. You can be very successful if you reach 0.0001% of the US population. That's still a significant group of people, and you can have a fantastic living if you sell your products to that audience. And be happy with that. Understand that not everyone is interested in what you do, but select that audience. And the stricter you will define your own audience, the more fun it will become. That's one thing. Accept the fact that you can be very successful with a smaller audience. The second thing they need to do is put their human brand into the equation. If you're a small brand owner, your personal brand, your personal identity is crucial to your success. People need to know what you stand for. People need to like you. People need to, you know, feel sympathy for what you do, and really hope that your business will do well because of the fact that they just like you. And this is something that still many people underestimate, that the biggest value in their small business is not the product that they sell, but it's their own individual character. That really makes a difference. And that's for me the second differentiator. And the third one is to make sure that you know, create like 100 small steps forward that you can take, and that every day you think about. It's like with the videos, right? It's like, what can I do different today? Where can I put a little bit more energy in to make a difference to clients? Don't get into the routine kind of business, because that gets boring for you and it gets boring for your customers. Every day you can do something small differently, something that, you know, places you one step further into that journey. If I compare it to myself, Mark, I have a small business myself. I run my speaking business together with my wife. I'm involved in 2 other companies that I started. But if I look to my speaking business, my goal is that my end goal which I will never achieve, but my end goal is to become like the #1 reference in the world in terms of customer experience. If someone has an issue about their customers in the meeting, someone would have to say, let's listen to what Steven has to say about this. That's my ultimate dream. It's like the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. But I'm very well aware that I will probably never get there. But that's not a problem at all. I'm very happy with my audience, but I want to climb that rainbow every single day. I want to do something different or do something new or invest in myself to get to that other side of the rainbow and accept at the same time that it's no problem to never find that pot of gold there. And I think that's the mindset you need to have. And then you can perfectly be extremely successful next to the Amazons of this world.
Well, I definitely think it's about gratefulness. Be grateful for what you have, because as an entrepreneur, you know, if you're always chasing that carrot, guess what? That carrot is going to keep moving. You're never going to catch it. But if you're able to sit down in the current time and say, you know, I may only have 100 downloads or 100 subscribers or whatever, you know, appreciate what you've got, keep moving forward, keep improving. You know, the other thing, you know, clarity, obviously very, very important. And I think also for a lot of creators, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, people kind of building out their side hustle, clarity is something that is easy to mess up, but you know, you got to continuously look at that, continuously work on being more and more clear, which kind of segues me into my next question here for you, Steven. The other thing that I think is absolutely invaluable, probably the most important factor in business moving forward, is friction, or removing friction from the buying, the return, the communication process. How frictionless can we be as a business? So you've actually recommended creating friction hunters within your organization. Steven, tell me, what's a friction hunter and why is it important that I have friction hunters in my business?
Friction hunters are people in your organization, can be everyone, doesn't matter what their function is, can be anyone. Those are people that look at every process that you have from a customer point of view, and they look for small details, small frictions, where you waste the time of your customers, where it's not easy enough, where you outsource your workload to them, and where you've been doing things in a way that actually don't make sense to the customer, but you're overseeing it. And very often those frictions are very small things that you can easily solve or remove without the need for a lot of budget or without any, you know, extra resources. It's just something, it's like when you move into a new house and you're renovating the house, you know, there's always this one wall that is unfinished. But if you live in that house, you don't see that anymore. It's part of your habitat, right? And then friends come in and they're like, why didn't you fix that wall? And you think, yeah, you're right, there's still that wall. I forgot about it. Well, it's those kind of small frictions that you have in your relationship with your customer that you need to remove. Why is it important? Let me ask you a question back. What, in your opinion, is the scarcest resource that people have these days?
Oh, it's time.
Time. Time is the scarcest resource. If you have frictions in the process, you're wasting people's time. You're basically wasting their #1 asset, their most valuable asset in their life. You're not showing respect to their time, and they don't like that. And that's why the role of friction hunters is really crucial in every organization.
One of the issues that I've had in my organization here is the upload process, right? Because what I do is I bring on clients, they send me their raw footage, their raw photos. Me and my team, we chop it up, we redistribute it, we maximize it, reformat it for social media. But one of the challenges I've had in my system is sometimes it's hard for clients to actually even upload the data to our Google Drive. So I'm trying to work on some ways to smooth that out. What are some other common examples, Steven, of frictions that oftentimes we overlook, frictions that are causing our client to have a less than optimal experience?
Oh, it's for instance, if a client wants to become a client in an organization, that the first thing that happens is that they get an Excel file where they have to fill out a whole bunch of administrational stuff that can be found on the internet. Why do they have to fill out that sheet? Because this company is using an ERP and they have to feed it with a certain predefined file, and they just send it to the client, whereas they already have the information. You're outsourcing your work to the client. That's a typical one. Or on websites. I mean, when you want to order stuff and it's not ready for your mobile phone, for instance, where it's still created for a desktop situation and you want to get that information, or you want to buy something through your mobile, and it's not adapted to that. I mean, that drives people crazy. It's like the craziest thing I ever had was with an airline. I think it was United Airlines. I had a complaint and I tweeted it in a direct message because I didn't want to. I don't like to complain about companies in public. I usually don't do that. So I sent them a private message. I said, this is going on, guys. Can you help me out? And instead of being helped, I got a URL to a form that I had to fill out. And after that, they would see if they could help me. And I clicked to the form, and it was like 3 pages online. Whereas my question was like, can you rebook my flight? Something like that. And then you get in that whole administration that they have to make their life easy. Usually it's that. Maybe they want to, usually a company wants to make their own life more efficient. They want to be respectful for their own time. And then they create a friction on the other side of the counter.
Great points, great points. And this is especially being exacerbated, I think, Stephen, by the fact that we keep getting new technology released in the marketplace every day. Because, you know, if you're from a generation that grew up on beepers and VCRs, and then someone's like live streaming or cloud data uploading or Bitcoin, you're probably like, whoa, what is all this? Which, to your point, Stephen, I think one of the major values of creating content on YouTube. Because now when that client comes to you with that FAQ or that problem, hey, by the way, I've got a video on my YouTube channel that answers it exactly how you need it answered, right? Have you run into that with your YouTube channel, Stephen, where people ask you a question like, just refer them to a video?
Absolutely, and I have an even better example. It's an e-commerce company in the Netherlands, in Holland. It's called Coolblue. It's one of the more popular e-commerce platforms in Europe for Dutch-speaking people. And they're typically selling technological products like TVs, computers. That's their key focus. They have one of the most successful corporate YouTube channels in the world. And basically what they've done is they looked at their contact center, and all the questions that come in, like, I bought a TV, but how do I install it? Can you guys help? I have this new phone. How does it work? So they list all these questions, and then they make a video of every question they have. Like, they have thousands of videos, and some only have like 5 views. Others have, you know, thousands of views. But every question that comes in, they make a video. And because of that, you know, at the end today, I checked it yesterday, they now have more than 123 million views on their YouTube channel.
Wow.
In total, all videos. And the amount of calls that come in, like, I don't know how this works, they have been, you know, reduced significantly because people now know, oh, if I need something, I just go to Coolblue's YouTube channel, I type in the question, and they have an answer for everything in a very compelling made video. And, you know, it's creating content, it's creating value, and at the same time, you're creating efficiency for yourself.
100%. And to your point earlier, Stephen, the people that are watching those videos are going to leave comments. They can leave remarks in real time, so you can get more feedback and answer those questions more in depth, even there in the comments too, if you wanted to. But I would encourage everyone that is wanting to create content, but not sure what to do, just start answering questions. It's really that simple. Start answering questions and posting them on YouTube. It's free. You've got a smartphone. You can make it happen today. Stephen, before we get into the rapid fire, I just want to briefly ask you, your book, your best-selling author, over 150,000 books sold, your new book, The Offer You Can't Refuse. Why should someone pick up this book and read it? Why is it a good idea?
Well, I think it's very timely. It looks at how customer expectations are changing in a post-COVID world, where my hypothesis is that a good product, service, and price is a minimum demand, where digital convenience has become a minimum demand. It's just something that people, think it's the most normal thing in the world today. And then I look how you can differentiate your business. And I talk there about 2 dimensions. I talk about how can you become a partner in life, where it's not about selling your product, but it's about how can you positively change someone's life, and how can you contribute to that as an organization and use that as part of your strategy. And the second dimension that I play with is how can you add value to society in a way that, of course, it helps us to solve global challenges or local challenges, but also in a way that it has an impact on your customers, and that customers know about it, and that customers value it, and that it becomes a reason to do business with you. And I believe that the partner in life philosophy, the changing your world philosophy, can really help you to create a more emotional customer relationship. And that's, in my opinion, where the world is going to today. And that's what I described in this book. And I use a very simple, easy to understand model that helps you through that step by step to implement that vision for any kind of business, big or small, B2B, B2C.
Very, very timely, Stephen, because as consumer expectations evolve, so must our business evolve. So must we remove friction and be more clear. Love it. The book is The Offer You Can't Refuse by Stephen Van Belleghem. Links below so you can check it out. But Stephen, before we let you go, I got to hit you with some overrated, underrated questions. Are you ready?
Oh, this is cool. Yeah, I'm ready. Very curious what you're going to ask.
Overrated, underrated. Exit surveys.
Overrated.
Overrated, underrated. Zoom conference calls.
Underrated today.
Why would you say underrated? Because we're all on them. Why?
Yeah, we're all on them, but today, I don't know when you're going to broadcast this, but we're making this recording mid-May. Today, we're all sick and tired of it. I don't know if it's the same in the US, but in Europe, we had enough of two-dimensional meetings. We want to go back to three-dimensional meetings soon. But I think once we're back in the normal world, that we're going to miss our Zoom calls, and that we're going to be like, oh my God, do I really have to go into traffic just for this very functional meeting? I miss my Zoom call. So I think today they're so normal in our lives, and we're a little bit sick and tired of them, that we're underrating the impact that they will have in the long run.
Well said. Well said. Overrated, underrated, satisfaction guarantees.
Overrated.
Okay.
Do I need to explain, or is this going from one?
I like to hear why overrated, because I hear all the experts saying satisfaction guaranteed, or your money back. Why is that overrated?
Because even if people are unsatisfied and you give their money back, it doesn't make them satisfied. They're still unsatisfied. You just gave the money back. I don't want to have my money back as a consumer. I want to have a satisfying experience. So I prefer that if I'm not satisfied with something, that they don't just say, oh, you're not satisfied? Here's your money back. I would like them to ask me why and what can we do to help you to make this right. And then they solve the problem, and suddenly I have a satisfying experience. Because I'm not looking for getting my money back. I'm looking for the thing that I was hoping to get. And you should achieve that. Giving money back is a way too easy solution.
Yeah. That makes sense. And I think this can be resolved by clearly defining your audience up front and clearly defining your solution and setting a realistic expectation. I think too often, especially online entrepreneurs, are so focused on how can I make money rather than how can I actually deliver the promise, right? Mm-hmm. Well said. Overrated, underrated, online shopping. Oh,
still underrated. Still underrated. We're only first half of the game there.
Yeah, I mean, ways to go. Great video, by the way, on YouTube about the future of e-commerce merging with brick and mortar. Very interested to see how that all plays out. And listen, I'm going to give you all a quick teaser. You got to go to Stephen Van Belleghem on YouTube to catch that top 8 customer experience trend for 2021. Stephen, last question here for you. If you had 10 seconds with yourself 10 years ago, what are you going to tell Steve?
Work harder.
Work harder.
Because it's going to pay off. I was already working hard, but today I'm working harder, and I'm very happy with that. And I was too disappointed sometimes. I was way too, my expectations in the short run were too high. And I think you need to, if you believe in the journey that you're going into, step into it with no short-term expectations and just wait until, you know, the future happens for you. And if you work hard and you're passionate, it's going to happen, and it's going to happen sooner than you think, the moment that you don't see it happen anymore. It's like that tipping point that you have to wait for. And I was often too disappointed.
Stephen said it. I agree with it. Stephen Van Belleghem, thanks for being on the show.
It was a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for watching. I'm glad you enjoyed this episode. I've got several other episodes right here for you. Smash one of these videos to make sure that you don't miss out on the tips, tools, and tactics of industry experts. Let's take that side hustle full time. Smash one of these links.